way better than Eclipse Protocol. This one-of-a-kind crowd control build has been built from scratch and has a no cooldown status effect feature, so you can hold back multiple waves of legendary enemy hordes, even with the Blinder Firefly, which just can't be achieved with any other build. And it's anything but dull. This is a run and stun build that sets up NPCs for you or your squad to burn them down quickly. It even puts legendary hunters on easy mode. I'm going to show you how to make it, and we're starting right now. If you've been following my channel for a while, then you may have seen the original version of this I created called Infinity Blind. It has a no cooldown status effect feature too, and I showed you how you can use this build to stop legendary hunters. With a few impactful changes, this build 2.0 has become even more powerful. It now delivers the ability for you and your group to burn down legendary foes even faster, with an added layer of status effects, damage debuffs, and group amplified damage bonuses. Once you create this build, it will be one to save in your loadouts forever. It's OP for heroic and perfect for legendary. I like it better than Eclipse for legendary because all the potential is up front and doesn't require a kill. It sets up the kill so you and your team can finish the enemies off on easy mode. This comes together to be so strong you can literally solo a legendary stronghold with this crowd control build. That's amazing, almost unheard of. That's because you can keep the enemy in perma status effects long enough to kill them. I have some legendary gameplay here. I started it solo so you can see what it can do. Eventually a random joins in and the two of us walk through District Union without any issues. Most crowd control builds have a high base of status effect attributes and skill haste. And that's going to be the foundation of this build too. We're not going to add any armor or weapon damage. We don't need to. We have all of the survivability and kill power we need.
So anyways, let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
The chest piece is golden gear for the status effects. I rolled on a skill tier and it has a skill haste mod. The talent is tag team. This shaves off 6 seconds from our skill's cooldown. Our cooldowns are already fast without this, but the reason why we want this is so that we can disperse back-to-back skills to keep enemies under permanent status effects as much as possible. Sometimes enemies aren't clumped together, so you have to toss your skill here, then over there. And you can only do that if you have the no cooldown feature. My main skill is the Firefly. In fact, the build is created around it. So let's take a look at it. It's a tier 6, and on paper it shows a blind duration of 14.2 seconds and a cooldown of 18.6 seconds. If you subtract the duration from the cooldown, you see it has a 4.4 second total cooldown. Tag Team will shave 6 seconds from that, giving us a negative 1.6 second cooldown. If we have, say, a Chunga in front of us, we can hit him with the blinder, then activate Tag Team, then throw the blinder out again just as he's coming out of being blind. Repeat over and over until the whole battlefield is laying flat. The other skill I recommend you use is the Sticky Bomb. Now I switch back and forth from the Fire Sticky Bomb and the EMP. For starting District Union Arena, the EMP keeps those 3 tanks at the beginning neutralized. For most builds, they're the biggest threat. For this build, they're your ally. That's because they're easy targets for your sticky bomb, so you can use them, your blinder Firefly, over and over. The EMP has a crazy 26 second long duration and only an 11 second cooldown, which gets down to 5 seconds after Tag Team. So it's always available. And this skill is how we trigger Tag Team because it causes damage to the enemies you hit. Now I don't recommend the pulse because you can't control who has the tag icon for Tag Team, and it could be an NPC in cover you can't shoot. The sticky lets you pick your target, and it also does a really good job of holding back the rush, especially the fire sticky, which you can see me using throughout the mission. The gloves are improvised and they have double skill haste and status effects, making them stronger than a Hana U piece. Skill tier improvised gear are easier to get because all you need to find is one of the 2 attributes on it. From there you can recalibrate and optimize. It does take a little patience, but these are worth having. Improvised gear saves you a ton of farming time in the long run, and they provide a ton of flexibility thanks to the mods. The knee pads are just like the gloves, maxed out haste and maxed out status effect. This is key to getting those cooldowns to negative. And no surprise here, the holster is a mirror copy of the knee pads and the gloves. Skill haste keeps our skills on the ready, and as you can see in the gameplay, especially when running difficult content with a small squad, that is the difference between life and death. It's what keeps the enemy crowd paced out for you. I didn't check out the other guy's build, but it's probably just a basic DPS build. What's helpful in this duo run is that he has a reviver hive, because if he goes down without it, I have to stop what I'm doing to get him up, and that usually means the NPCs will spam us to death with explosives or rush on us. It's the CC build that is keeping us both alive, simply because we're buying time for the damage we're putting out together to eliminate all the hostiles. The status effects attribute is a critical component to our damage output. Yup, we're putting out a ton of damage too. It might not look like a lot, but remember, we have it spread out to all the enemies we apply status to. It simply adds up. This is because we're wearing the Vile Mask, one of my faves. It's very unique. It applies damage to enemies under status equal to 50% of our concussion grenade. You can increase your damage output from this mask in 3 ways. 1, mass effect. Basically, get as many under status effect at all times as much as possible. 2, max out your status effect attributes to give the mask's toxic delivery talent more damage. And 3, increase your concussion grenade's damage by adding more explosive damage to your build. This setup does all of the above. We have max skill tiers on this build, so I don't have to run Technician. This allows me to run the Demolitionist specialization, which gives my concussion grenade more punch. It also gives you the defensive ability to ignore explosions from time to time, which is very helpful during legendary runs. In the first version of this build, I showed you how you can run Technician and add more armor to this build since you have the bonus skill tier from the specialization. This version has more status and damage output. You don't need the armor because the enemy will be neutralized. Also, you can deploy your skills from cover, which protects you a lot. I created a one-tap 500,000 armor on kill build the other day. It's very off meta and very fun. I'll post a link here and below. Check that out next. The backpack is an awesome addition and one of the major changes from version 1 of this build. This is a Hana U for skill haste. It has all of the attributes we've seen on the other pieces and the talent opportunistic. Enemies damaged by your shotgun take 10% more amplified damage from all sources. That includes your skills, your allies, and even the Vile Mask. Yup, that's right. And by now you've probably have seen we're running the Scorpio shotgun. It has a high base damage, which we need since we don't have any core damage rolls on this build. More importantly, it has the talent called Septic Shock that applies a series of debuffs and status effects. Let's discuss this for a moment. This is a lethal combo for the build. More lethal than the Everlasting Gaze rifle that improves status effect duration. That buff only applies to a single target, by the way. The shotgun alone activates the Vile Mask and the opportunistic backpack talent with the status effects. More importantly, it also gives the enemy a debuff, so they take 20% more damage from all sources. Yup, it buffs the Vile Mask even more. That's in addition to the 10% amplified damage from all sources. It procced through the opportunistic talent on the backpack. And that's why you see these enemies being deleted so easily, even when they're standing in their overpowered, stacked legendary heal stations. Version 1 of this build relied on creeping death. Super helpful if you're getting rushed. But it takes just a moment to paint your targets, and that moment is worth it because the 10% amplified damage is a major boost to the mask, your gun skills, and your allies. It makes clearing things out much faster. Your group will thank you for it. Not much to see for stats, but here they are anyways. This is a really fun build. It's my style because it's versatile. You can swap your skills as needed, and you're really busy out there. You're not on the sidelines, you're on the front line, and your job is to keep everybody alive. You should note that this build is amazing for hunters. Of course they disrupt you right off the bat, but the shotgun is there for you when your skills aren't, and it does a lot on its own, of course. And once your skills are back online, you can keep the enemy under status effects. And when they're under status effects, it disrupts their ability to disrupt you. When putting together a squad, it's not always a good idea to have a tank, a CC build, and a healer. There's a lot of redundancy there. The CC build intends to help prevent damage, and so should the tank by pulling aggro. To go smoothly, I think 2 DPS builds are handy, and 1 skill damage build, maybe even an artillery turret damage build.
I feel bad for him.
This off-meta build brings together 1 tap damage and over 500,000 armor on kill, which is why it's so fun and a build you've got to try next. Tuxedo out.